Hey, what's up, good people? We are back with Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda. And guess what? We have Liz back with us. I don't know if you remember Liz from the episode Women Making the First Move. She did a great job, got a lot of good views on that show. And we're back today, and we're talking about circumcision today, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting subject since I'm the only one on the show that could or may not be circumcised, which we'll talk about. And I mentioned on the previous show. Right, right, exactly. But you know what's funny? In some countries, women, I know some countries make them cut off their clitoris, right?
Yeah.
Which would be almost equivalent, which is crazy.
But it's illegal here. So that's one thing that I think right off the bat is interesting, is that it's illegal to do that to females, but it's not to males.
Right, which is crazy. So real quick, guys, if you're joining us for the first time, we're a podcast about relationships. Don't forget to subscribe on ISNT Group Digital. Hit that notification button. And the email is rptalktruth@gmail.com. I want to thank these ladies for checking in and getting on Zoom today. Thank myself for getting on Zoom today. You know what I mean? It is Sunday. This show will be out tomorrow. And let's get into it, ladies. Great to see you guys, first of all. You know?
I've been traveling. I think you have been too.
I have too. Right? Yeah, I've been for the movie, for that movie in Baton Rouge. And I'll be leaving again on the 21st.
Okay.
And for a week, Yes. And it looks like Keke Palmer is going to be starring in it, which is really, really great news for us,
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Look her up. She just hosted the VMAs last week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, her mom runs her career, and her mom loves the script. She called me on Thursday, like going crazy. She only had a few notes,
Okay.
So when I go to Louisiana, I'm going to tackle those notes and stuff like that. So that's what's going on with me. You know what I mean? And my TV show is out and it's doing amazing on Vice. Just heard back from the ratings. It's doing amazing.
Nice.
So that's also good news. Yeah. The Dark Master Show, shameless plug, guys. Vice every Wednesday.
So I was in a film called Man Down about, it's funny because it was about police brutality and racism, and it was actually before all this happened, but it's actually being screened at some film festivals this weekend.
That's awesome. Congrats on that, Rach.
I know, be cool.
Congrats on that.
So I was talking with my other friend who we rented this house with this weekend. She's Jewish, and did you know? Okay, you know this, that like the Jewish do like a circumcision ceremony when the boys are circumcised, where the whole family watches.
Interesting. Are you serious?
Oh!
Wow.
I was like, do they keep the skin? And she was like, no, they just.
That's
I actually wonder what they do with the skin and with that type of ceremony, because I have done research on what they do with the foreskin after circumcision, and the foreskin is then used. They harvest it for like cosmetic products, and they use it to test products. And a lot of people, I think, when they're making that decision for their children, I don't think they're even aware or think about what they do with the foreskin.
It's just like what everybody does.
Yeah. There's some celebrities that will talk about it and admit to it. I think Sandra Bullock. Did I say that right? She's one that like openly discussed it and got a lot of heat for it. But they do like a facial with.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you can find the video on YouTube. It's really
that's
disturbing.
Well, and like vaccines too. There's like aborted fetal cells. It's like, oh great, I want to put that in my body. Like
yeah. Wow, Liz, what brought attention to this subject for you? Like, what made you interested in this subject?
I guess it started in high school. Somehow I ended up with two of my first boyfriends were not circumcised. And at that time, we're children of the 80s, and it was, most men were circumcised. And there was always this conversation where they seemed embarrassed and stuff. And I was just like, oh, whatever. So for my first couple of relationships.
They were embarrassed for being circumcised?
No,
or not
They weren't.
Okay,
they
got
weren't.
it.
So
got
they were
like
getting like made fun of it and stuff.
Got
and
you.
they felt like they had to. I remember both of them, like it was like a discussion.
Got
and I
you.
was like, okay, whatever. And then
Yeah,
I
kids would
didn't
make fun of
really.
you in high school. We used to make fun of somebody, like they used to hold signs at sporting events, like Mike's.
Oh my goodness.
They wrote Mike's good because he's got a hood, and they would hold these. They would hold these signs up, the cheerleaders at games, like it was like an inside joke because everyone knew.
That is hilarious.
Not funny. It was like a big deal if you weren't.
Yeah. So that's what. So I had positive experiences with both of those partners. So I kind of just like held that in the back of my head, like, oh, if I have a son, then I'm not going to circumcise him.
Right.
At the time, then I got older and then I dated men who were circumcised, and I was kind of like, I thought that the sex wasn't that great because of the partner or whatever.
Right.
And then it was like, when I was 28, I started dating my neighbor, and he wasn't circumcised, and I was like, oh.
Okay.
It is better. It is better because I wasn't sure for a little while because I was young and a teenager and stuff like that. But then after having experience with uncircumcised men, I'm like, oh, there is a difference. Like there was like a natural lubricant. It seems like they were more sensitive. Like it seemed like they enjoyed intimacy more. But that's just me. I mean, I have friends who prefer men to be circumcised and have had opposite experiences than myself. So when I found out I was pregnant with my son, I was like, okay, my partner is circumcised. I'm like, I have to explain this to him very gently and carefully because I don't want him to feel bad about being circumcised, but I really didn't want to circumcise my son.
Right.
So he kept saying to me, well, you need to give me more information than the sex is going to be better. And he kind of made me feel weird because he's like, why are you so concerned about his sex life? And like some of my family thought it was weird. And I was like, well, we're people. Like that's an important part of being like a balanced person.
I was like, honey, I'm sorry, but sex is better with an uncircumcised penis.
I mean, and it was hard. It took me probably 3 months to convince him. And then I remember at one point we were having a discussion about something else, and then he's like, quit reminding me what got taken away from me, like and he like lashed out at me, and then he ended up having a very uncomfortable conversation with his mom about it. And what did you do this to me? And then he kind of came down to like, I don't think it's fair that I didn't get to make that decision for myself, so I'm not going to make that decision for our son. He can always do it when he's older. And another thing they say is if you get circumcised when you're older, there is pain management that you can do with the surgery, but as an infant, there is not. So that's where we came from. And then, I mean, doing the research, I learned tons of stuff. Like, they say that there's around 20,000 nerve endings in the foreskin, and compared to the clitoris, which is 6,000. So, I mean, that's a pretty sensitive area. So there was just a lot of things that bothered me about it. But I think it came down to, the parents making that decision for a child, like, just didn't make sense to me.
Right.
He wants to get circumcised. He can do it when he's older. I'll pay for it, like, whatever. Yeah. But I am not making that decision to cut off part of his body. But he can make an educated decision. I really wish I knew a male who had done a circumcision later in life. Like sexual.
I do.
You do?
Animo's husband.
Oh, okay. So
because he like got an infection or something and had to have it done as an adult. I mean, I don't know the specifics because he's a relative, but I know it's very painful as an adult.
Yeah, I heard it's very painful. And that's the other thing is I think that there's so much misinformation on how to care for an intact penis.
Right. I was about to say, why did he get an infection? He wasn't keeping it clean or something?
This is something that I learned because I had my older family members saying, citing people like friends of the family that had issues as they got older in their 60s and they were like battling cancer or whatnot, and then they would get these infections and they'd have to get circumcised.
Yeah, because he had health problems.
So to do with that. What I've learned from like elder family members, specifically my mother-in-law, is that they were told to clean the penis, that they had to pull down the foreskin, where now it's known that you shouldn't retract. Like, it's kind of like a fingernail. It's like, stuck onto the gland. So if you're pulling it down, you're actually damaging the penis. So these older men were having issues because they were retracted a lot when they were children, when it's supposed to naturally happen. Like I learned from Intact Care. This is actually a really good resource. It's called yourwholebaby.org. They have tons of information for parents researching, for medical professionals researching, but they have simple tips on how to care for an intact penis. Basically, you don't touch it. Let them.
Why do people circumcise in general? Because like they said it was for like bacteria.
They said it was
reasons, right?
for infections. They linked it to HIV and AIDS, but the U.S. is known for being, they're the ones that do the most circumcision. We have the highest rate of HIV and AIDS. So if you look at the statistics, it doesn't really line up.
It doesn't make any sense. But even if you go back further, even if you study even further back, it started as a thing to where they thought that if you cut the skin off, the penis would be longer. That was the very, very first.
Yeah,
when you go back. That's why. Like if you look at like I'm not circumcised at all, and in Trinidad and in the islands, and if you go back to Africa, that's not something that they do. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Imani, have you ever had a woman tell you that sex was better with you because you weren't circumcised?
No, never had a woman have a problem going down on me. Never had a woman say anything. I've never had any infection. Never had any problem keeping it clean. Nothing.
I'm asking because Liz is saying that like for the woman, sex is better for her,
right?
The guy who's not circumcised, as well as probably for the man if you have those extra nerve endings.
Right. It's better. I'm sure. And I can't relate because I have mine. So
yeah, he doesn't.
I'd have to ask friends, and a woman has never said to me hey.
That's why I asked if like a woman told
and a woman has never said to me, hey, it's better with you because you're not. You know what I mean? Okay. Never had a woman say that. And you know what's funny about and this is what's crazy. I'm watching Shameless right now, and I happen to just watch the circumcision episode.
I've never seen it.
Just the other day, and because they're on like season 11. I'm on season 7 or 8. Just so happened when we're talking about this, I watched an episode about it. And the youngest member, the girl didn't want to go down on him because he wasn't. And he went and had it done on the show.
Oh.
And he's like 15 years old or something, 14 or 15. Oh. And he was pissed the girl didn't want to go down on him. You know what I mean? But I'm saying all that to say, coming up, I was never inferior about it, never had a problem about it, never been challenged about it, even with other friends who were. That was never a subject of conversation.
Did you ever have like a woman who had like never seen one before?
I think. Okay. I think maybe once, I think.
Because I have a question for you guys. Like, I've never seen one, or I don't think. Like, how would I know?
Oh, so that's interesting because in some instances the foreskin could retract when they're erect, so you might not even know.
Right, because like I think people said you can only tell the difference when they're not hard, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's harder to tell when you're hard. Because when you're hard, it's just connected to like the edge on the backside. You know what I mean?
You can still see like the tip.
You could still kind of see where it's connected if you're looking closely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you hear a Rach, I'll just show you.
No, just kidding. Imani, let's show our audience right now.
Just so everybody knows.
I'm just kidding, but yeah, and it's never been an issue though. Never been a problem.
Because I was saying, I think we should call this episode like, "Is sex better with an uncircumcised penis?"
Yeah, that's a good title.
Something along that nature. Because like from what Liz has always said, it's like sounds like it's better for the man and the woman, and I'm like, I don't think I know because I don't.
Yeah, when you're not circumcised, it's better for both sides.
Right.
You know,
From my experience, I mean,
and
for everyone.
So
some people are grossed out by it, but I think that's like a cultural.
And it's a lot of misinformation too why they're grossed out by it.
Well, it's just different, right? And everybody like runs from like things that are different, you know?
Right.
Because my mom had told me, I kind of wish she didn't tell me this. So too much information about my relatives, but like that my uncles weren't. And she just kind of said at the time when you had a child in the U.S., it's like at some times like it was in
Yeah,
and sometimes it's
was,
not in.
Yeah.
So, and then she told me one of my brothers is, and then one isn't, because
Right.
like at that time people weren't doing it. I'm like, so
Got
it's
you.
just like phases that
Yeah.
they go through.
Mm-hmm.
But like for a woman, why is it better?
I feel like there's less of like that rabbit action going on.
Like the pow pow
Pow,
pow?
pow, pow.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been watching studies to see there is work being done to see if ED, erectile dysfunction, is tied to circumcision.
Oh.
But I feel like once they conclude that study, I feel like that circumcision is going to be out of business. But
right.
So they do say that, but there's also studies linking the trauma to on males from circumcision because of the cortisone levels. There is studies saying that those go up during a circumcision, and then the effects of the pain and the trauma, and like your body doesn't forget stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I look for that stuff because I think eventually it will come to light, but it's such a huge business that I think they're trying to keep that stuff like hush hush. But I did look up, in preparation for us chatting today, I did look up, the CDC says that, what was it, 55%. So it's like almost 50-50 on circumcision now.
Oh,
so
wow.
like my kids' generation will be more 50-50, where it used to be more like 80-20.
Right.
So he won't be like made fun of in school.
No, and I think that's absurd. Like the whole like, well, they want the fathers to match and stuff. It's like,
who cares?
The mothers and daughters don't match.
Right.
Like, we teach our daughters and the females in our family how to take care of themselves, how to clean themselves. Like, why are we acting like our men are not intelligent enough
to clean themselves,
take care of themselves?
Right.
So that's like one of the arguments that really bothers me. And then also sometimes when I share this information and I am talking to a parent that did choose to circumcise, or somebody who's circumcised, they're going to feel like, I don't want them to feel bad about a decision that they weren't able to make, or they had to make, but they didn't really have all the information. So I usually encourage people to check out that yourwholebody.org, or watch a circumcision. You can find them on YouTube. If you cannot sit through that, then do not do that to your child, because that was one thing that my partner, I said, all right, here, you can watch, because if you want him circumcised, you're going to take him. And I had him, and it was like they restrain you, like there's no pain management.
Wow.
Some kids, like, they just become silent and like shut off. It's kind of like that fight or flight. So there's all that information.
Because they can't put them under as a
newborn. They can't put them under as a newborn. So there's also there's something else I wanted to add. Let me check my notes real quick.
And what's funny is
in the hospital. That's a great documentary that goes over all the risks, all the information on it.
What's it called?
It's called An Elephant in the Hospital.
Oh, okay.
I can send you that link.
Like
to
the elephant trunk.
Yeah, Liz. Email me those links and I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, we can put those. Because I do
for
think
YouTube,
people need to be aware of that, or even researching the history of circumcision. I mean, it can go back like thousands of years, but there is Dr. Kellogg's, the cornflakes guy. Yeah. He was the one that made a huge push.
A doctor?
He made a huge push towards circumcision, basically for masturbation.
Oh.
Like, so.
Because it feels better when you masturbate?
Yeah, it was like, what was the term they had, like a
definitely
hostility towards masturbation. So they were desensitizing.
I can definitely relate to it feeling better not being circumcised during masturbation.
Not being circumcised? Oh, yeah. Because you're not. Okay.
Right.
How do you know?
Definitely, because when you masturbate, the forcing kind of helps with the pleasure of the masturbation.
Yeah,
because of the nerve endings.
Yeah. So if you're not circumcised, if you're not circumcised and you're masturbating, I can't imagine how you even get off. What takes like an hour maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like it. It's so sad.
I mean, what's funny is
they don't have a choice. Like, a lot of men say that. Like, this conversation comes up, they're like, well, I didn't have the choice. My parents chose for me. Right. So this is what I have, and this is what I'm dealing with. What was interesting is I found out my partner, his siblings, he's one of 6 boys, And some of them were circumcised and some were not. That was funny how I found out that.
But we can say it. My mom boned her husband's brother at their wedding.
Okay. That's funny.
And then we found, so that's when I found out my brother-in-law wasn't
funny.
circumcised. So I actually asked my.
So it's basically all because of my mother that we know all of our relatives
That's
are
so funny.
circumcised or not.
Oh, not.
So I asked her, and she told me that like the older ones, you know, they weren't really saying to circumcise. The younger ones they did, but then she did share with me like the guilt that she had because one of her sons, she realized now she's in her 80s, took her 60 years to realize that he had a botched circumcision, and she's like now sitting there in her 80s on her couch, retired, like, oh, how did that affect his life? Like she's realizing now. And so she was so brokenhearted when I told her, you know, like you don't retract all that stuff, and she said they never told her that, so she was constantly retracting. And she's like, obviously I damaged you know, the foreskin and the penis, and then he ended up having a botched surgery. And she was talking about how she thinks that might have influenced his life, and like the shame with that, and being such a, so it's weird because she's, you know, reflecting in life, and she was like, oh my God, it's so amazing you guys have all this information and I didn't have that information. I think that's why I like to talk about it, is because I mean, you can go find that information.
Where did it start? Was it the US that started doing this?
I think so, or was it in Europe?
Yeah, it was in Europe. I think you can find like the whole.
Yeah, they have
the
it.
whole story. Yeah, if you go to yourwholebaby.org, goes into the history.
So it's funny you say that, because I dated a guy a long time ago that was from an island, not your island, but it was an island. It was because like Trinidad is an island, right?
Yeah.
So I dated a guy from like Cape Verde, which is like an island near Africa, and they do a weird circumcision job where like the head of it was way bigger than like any head I've like, bigger and darker than the rest of it. So it was like, I feel like they didn't do it right. Where like because like I think they cut too much of the actual shaft part of it. Because the head just looked enormous compared to the rest of it. Like it wasn't like, it didn't look like a normal job. Yeah, I think
interesting.
They do it, I think on the islands they don't do it correctly.
That's interesting.
I remember thinking he had like a weird. He was circumcised, but it was different looking.
Are you sure he just wasn't? Like you know how some guys start off thicker and go skinny towards the tip?
No, it's like the opposite, because we dated for over a year, but it's just the head of it was like huge, and then the rest of it like looked
skinny.
Yeah, like I think they cut too much out of the middle that made the head look enormous. Yeah,
right.
And it was way darker, because I've seen, you know, black penises or half black penises.
Right.
And like the head is never darker than the rest of it.
Right.
Like it was like a significant difference too. I remember thinking it was strange. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. I think
never heard that before.
Do it differently.
Yeah. It's funny you guys were talking about the cleaning thing earlier. I'm thinking I've never retracted all I just clean. I don't, you know what I mean? Soap and water and
that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've never like retracted, clean. I've never had to do that. It's never been, you know, you just clean normally.
Right.
You know, yeah, I've never had an issue. And I always said if I have a son, he definitely won't be getting circumcised. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Like, don't even think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if the woman wants to?
I'll say you've lost your mind.
Yeah, that comes up a lot. I feel like in moms groups, everybody's like, "Oh, I don't want to circumcise, but my husband wants to circumcise." So a lot of people are like, "Well, just let the child decide when they're
later." Yeah.
That way, it doesn't leave it.
Because the dads probably like have that mentality. Like in my high school, it's like you get made fun of if you weren't circumcised. So I think the dads are probably thinking, I don't want to put my kid through like getting made fun of.
That is an argument you hear a lot, but I think that's kind of like gone away with the rates have gone down so much that it's like 50-50. It's you know.
But people are just like sheep. It's like they do whatever most people do. You know, it's like, oh yeah, okay, everyone's circumcised. I'm just gonna
and that's the other thing. It's considered a cosmetic surgery, so
is it expensive?
now you have to pay out of pocket for it if you're.
And that's another.
If you're older, yeah.
Yeah, so some people like lower class or poverty, they're not going to pay out for that. You know?
Right.
So it's interesting to see there.
To.
So one question I like to ask males who are intact is, have you ever had that conversation with your mom, like what her thought process was or decision making or?
No, I haven't. That's interesting. But I think in my island in Trinidad, it's just something that we just didn't do. It was just a general consensus. The island knew, like, the way we were brought up, you know, like, no, you don't do that. You know, coming from Africa, you know, we obviously got there through slavery and stuff like that with Christopher Columbus. But I think among the African community that migrated to Trinidad from West Africa, I think it was just a known thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, we don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That remains intact. It wasn't even a discussion
topic.
Yeah.
I was actually, that's kind of weird. So when I was pregnant with my son, I reached out to the mom of one of my first boyfriends and I said, I'm just curious, you know, like, I'm glad you kept your son whole.
That's funny.
Well, she's a hippie, so like,
yeah, she's a hippie. She's
like
awesome. Like, I learned so much from her.
Yeah.
So, so I reached out to her and I said, you know, what made you keep him intact, even though, you know, in the 80s they were so cut happy and it was like a huge push. And she said she took a parenting class at the local hospital.
Yeah.
And they were talking through the process and she said that she was just like so disturbed by it and upset her. And she's like, what's the point? Like, I'm not going to hurt my baby. This goes against my instincts, you know? So that was her process, her thought process. And then I asked the intact partner I had in my late 20s, and he said that his mother just thought that it was horrific, and that it didn't make sense to have an open wound in a diaper and with urine and, you know,
right. That makes a lot of sense
so,
too.
like,
yeah.
Just common sense stuff, like, you know, you think about. But I know I think I've only had like 3 intact partners. So like, I don't know. It is something that kind of bums me out in my current circumstances because I'm like, I do kind of miss that. I don't know.
Well, you can, you know, get it back.
Yeah.
Now you can switch it up.
Yeah.
Liz's dating profile.
Looking
for uncircumcised hoods.
But you know what?
Exactly.
When you were talking about the look of a circumcised penis, so I think as much as I know the benefits of keeping a person whole,
I'm gonna Google it.
I do think that we are trained to culturally be turned on by a circumcised penis, because I do I do think visually, like sometimes I do prefer the look of a circumcised penis, which I hate. Like, well, I don't hate to admit, but
I'm Googling images right now, you guys. I want to see it.
Well, Liz, I will say this. I've never seen an uncircumcised penis look any better than mine. I have to say that. I just haven't. I don't know if I just look a certain way. I swear.
Have you seen others?
I've seen a few pornos and stuff with guys not circumcised, and they shit don't look no better than me.
It's just just the end, basically, like that
right.
In. Yeah. It's like when someone has like an outie belly button versus like an innie belly button.
Okay, that's
you know, and that's how I would describe it. It's like this one's like an innie or innie nipples. That's what I think. Like some girls have innie nipples.
Yeah,
that's kind of what the end of it looks like. It goes in. Wow. Okay. Yeah, and so
but that's not.
So you don't see like the. Oh, but then hard. Yeah, it looks the same.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
right.
That's what I'm saying.
One's not, and I don't know. See, I think that we're conditioned to think that that's more.
Yeah, but
attractive.
hard, it looks pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
similar.
saying. I've never
That's
seen
why
one
you
look better
could
than
have been,
mine.
You might have missed it.
Yep.
Right. So I might have seen one, but if it was just a fling, I wouldn't have seen.
You wouldn't have known exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I still don't know.
Exactly.
I still don't think I've seen one. I've seen a lot in my day.
But you know what? Now that you have a visual, now you can start paying
Now
attention.
I can look at
Maybe you can start paying attention.
The only one I thought might have not been was the actor I slept with, but then I told my friend that he was Jewish, and this is how I found this out. I just told somebody, I go, he's the only one I was like, question. And she goes, oh no, if he's Jewish, he definitely would, because there's a whole ceremony.
Wow.
She told me the name of it. I forgot. It's like 4 letters, but I was like, what? And she said they're supposed to have a rabbi do it, but she's like, obviously you need a surgeon to do it. You need someone to do it.
Right.
But the whole family stands around.
That's crazy.
Like, where did these, like, it's so funny that these like rituals exist in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And those still exist today, the Jewish thing.
Have you guys seen, I think it was Meet the Parents, the second one, where like she's flipping through Ben Stiller's baby pictures and something falls out and she goes, what was that? And the mom's like, oh, it was Greg's foreskin. And they saved it.
Do they save it? Like, I'm actually
no, it's a joke because his parents like hippies. So they saved his foreskin and then put it in like a baby album, and it's so funny. And she's like, oh.
Oh my goodness. Ouch.
Well, guys, if I ever see one, I'll keep you posted.
Please let us know.
Rachel.
You know,
tell us all about it.
Sure, I'm going to see a lot more in my day.
Right.
I hope it's for myself.
Yep. It's funny. What I'll do too, because this is the only time this has ever come up since I was a kid. Like, again, so I think I'm gonna start asking some of my friends too. Like, are you not? But I'm gonna start asking and just seeing
I really want to talk to
some of the
who
experiences.
did the surgery later in life.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And see,
I
that'd
have,
be
like,
interesting
a million
too.
questions I want to ask them.
That'd be interesting too. Like you say, I'm sure that hurts like hell.
Oh, I know. At least
Because how do you numb that area? Even to get a shot to numb it'll hurt like hell. So
maybe they put you under first.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
That's what I would hope.
I was gonna look that up this morning because I was curious myself, like what the procedure looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's painful as hell because I got an IUD put in a couple months ago, and they have to stick a needle up there, and he didn't warn me.
Things.
He did. Oh, I had taken out. I was horrible.
Yeah.
So he stuck a needle up there, and I was like, because he didn't warn me. He was sticking a needle up there, like, into my uterus to numb it, and it was so painful. They also did not tell me that I was going to cramp and bleed for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
After the first month, I was like, get this thing out of me.
Yeah.
Oh my
goodness. I had a friend get pregnant with that.
Yeah,
and I also
knew
had
somebody
a
too. But I got the one without
lost.
Yes. My mom told me that too, and you have to get like surgery and stuff taken out. I didn't know any of this beforehand. I just wanted something without hormones.
Right.
But I'm like, if it hurts that much for them to stick a needle up into me, I can't imagine with a guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably going to be just as painful.
Yeah. I had an ex, and I would hit it, so she had to get it taken out.
Oh, wow.
Well, that was the other thing too. Like, I was, playing with myself, and I felt the string. And you're not, he left the string too long too, so you're not supposed to be able to feel it. So I was like, okay, strike 1, the cramping and the pain forever.
Yeah.
Strike 2, you can feel the string. If I can feel it, a guy is definitely be able to feel it. So I just went back and I was like, take this out of me. And they actually refunded me for the doctor's appointment.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Yeah. I would literally hit that shit. I was like, what is that? And she was like, oh, I have it.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, well, can you get that taken out? Because it would bother me.
Didn't like it.
So she eventually had to get it taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
I know.
Yep.
I highly recommend don't get one of those.
Yeah.
No,
so Rach, what do we call it today's show? Is sex better when circumcised?
With an or like with an uncircumcised penis.
But I feel like we spoke about it in a more historical term and more medical term, though. What do you think?
Like than saying penis?
No, I'm just saying, because we didn't talk much about if sex is better with it or not. You know what I'm saying?
I know, it's kind of just based on our opinions and our experiences.
I don't mind. I'll name it this too, but I'm just saying. I don't know a good. Rachel was great with the titles.
Well, I think we did because we talked about if it's better. I mean, not the history, but if it's better from a woman's perspective and from a man's perspective because of all the nerve endings. And all that. Yeah.
Another thing though is if you did if you did a title that like a parent who's researching is like
Mhm.
looking and it could come up, we could think about that too.
Yeah. Now, what about oral sex? Is it any different, Liz, with someone circumcised or not?
That's a good question.
Actually, I liked it because you could use the foreskin to kind of like touch things and like easy cleanup. And
Listen.
I was like a little schoolgirl about that stuff. I was like, oh, this is so fun.
You're absolutely right. Because girls that have gone down on me because I'm not circumcised, because they use it as a part of the action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you catch it like an umbrella?
They use it as a part of the action. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yep. Because if you're not and a girl's going down on you, it's just what she has to work with. Just there's not, that's hard to explain.
So
but
when we were teenagers, we read a book called Sex Tips for Girls, and it taught us how to give a blowjob.
Oh my God.
And I still remember it. It was like step 1, you like roll your tongue around the shaft of the penis. I mean, the head of the penis.
Right.
Step 2, you run your tongue down the shaft, and then step 3, you take it all in your mouth. Right.
Right.
But if there's no head, that's going to be difficult to do until it pops out.
No, the head is there. What do you mean? There's no head.
When you're soft.
No, but even when you're soft, the head is there.
Oh, because with the pictures I just looked up, it was like in. It looked like an in.
Oh no, that's no.
Yeah, when they're erected,
it pops out, right?
No, but even when I'm soft, my head is never like completely tucked in and. But it does. It's there for protection from damage. Okay. So if it does, it actually protects the head of the shaft. That's what it's for too. When it's completely retracted. Yeah. It's like a snail. It goes auto and the shell protects it. It's the same thing. Okay. But it's rare that I'm ever like that. Like maybe if I'm in a swimming pool and like it'll, you know what I'm saying? It's rare that I'm like that. Usually when I'm soft, you could see everything. Okay. 99% of the time.
Some of them just, I'm sure they all.
In fact, I totally forgot that it even did that until you just said it. Because it hasn't happened to me in so long. Where it was completely retracted like that. I totally forgot it even did that. That's so funny. Okay. Yeah, so that's like a normal thing. At least not for me.
I probably just found like an exaggerated photo on
probably, yeah. Probably.
But I don't know, because I think because our podcast is related to relationships.
I know, yeah. We should relate it to that.
I think it would be good to tie in the sexual aspect of being with a partner who is circumcised versus not.
Right.
That's really what triggered me to keep my son whole initially.
Or Rach, what about this? Rach, what about this? Something along the lines of all about circumcision and is sex better when circumcised?
Yeah.
Something like that. Something like that.
Or like the there's a weird sound.
What's that? Did I hit something?
No.
Okay. No, it was fine. It's fine on my end.
Yeah, or like the history of circumcision and is sex better?
That's good, right?
Or maybe
there.
Like with an uncircumcised partner. Maybe you can say that. Right. That sounds a little nicer than penis.
Right. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting because when I told people that we were doing this podcast, some people were like, "I haven't even thought about that." Like.
Amanda today, she said to me, she goes, "Oh, that's a whole conversation you guys are gonna have," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, Liz." I was like, "Liz has a lot to say about this."
Yeah, right. It blows my mind.
We talked about it before. Oh, because Imani, you know that song, like she didn't have to cut me off. You know that one. He's saying "cut me off" like this girl ghosted him, but there was a TikTok video where it was like every guy that is like circumcised, and it's like she didn't have to cut me.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's a funny video. So I sent it to Liz, and Liz is like blowing me up with all these facts about circumcision, and I was like, "Okay, it's just a joke, just a joke."
Yeah.
But I was like, "Yeah, we'll have her on this one. She'll have a lot to say."
Yeah, I told you that guy used to be down on Venice, man, and he had the whole chart out there, and. Yeah, I used to see it every weekend.
A guy used to stand on Venice, like promoting not circumcising your kids.
That's funny you brought that up. So prior to having kids, we were in the park, and there was this same thing. It was a young kid. He was like 17 or 18.
Wow.
And he was actually promoting the website that I ended up going to years later, the yourwholebaby.org, and he was so mad that his mother circumcised him. Like he had so much anger, and I'm like,
he's like,
you need to take care of the anger.
I can't get it back.
Yeah. So well, there is. So he actually was telling me, this was the first I had heard of it. that there is like a restoration.
Oh.
I haven't looked into the whole process, but some men are trying to do that to grow back the
Are you
foreskin.
serious?
I don't know what the expense looks like. I don't know what the procedure looks like. That website that I mentioned actually has a section if you're interested in looking at it. But
how do you do that? Because you have to connect it to like the tip. Like,
well, I mean, if they can make
well,
men,
you true. You can stitch it, I guess. Yeah.
If you can make men women and women men, I think
that's true. That's probably easy.
Yeah, I forget. I heard that too. If you're, I forget. I think it's if you are intact, it's easier if you're gonna transition from a male to a female to have the foreskin. I have heard that too. Okay. All sorts of information out there, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. Now I forget what I was. I know what I was gonna say. I just feel like we're all kind of holistic, spiritual people here, right? That, like having this conversation, and I just feel like your body is meant to, like your body, you're born the way you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? So it's
I agree.
So why mess with, like, that's why I'm into like eating like all natural, because it's like if it comes from the earth, it's here for a reason, right? It's good for you. That's why, like, I know you eat like a predominantly like vegan diet. I too. But it's like, it's, things are on this earth and people are born
absolutely
naturally the way we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's why like, I'm not even into like medication unless like you have an infection.
I'm the same way. Yep.
And you need antibiotics, or yes, if you have a mental disorder and you have a chemical imbalance, I'm sure there's medication for that. But other than that, I'm not into this like, oh, he has ADD, he needs to be medicated. We all have ADD. Come on. We have a million emails and texts a day coming at us. Like, I'm not into that. So I feel like your body's born the way it's meant to be. I don't think our body was meant to cut off a piece of the skin right away.
Right. I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I find it so interesting that people are so adamant about not doing this to female and daughters, but they're willing to do it to their sons.
Right.
But there's such a deep, cultural push for it, and there's so much that people have to get through. And
is there money in it? Like, do you have to pay to get your kid circumcised?
Yeah. I heard it's like $200.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if it's different.
Because I was wondering if they're pushing it because there's like a financial incentive, but I guess 200 is not that much.
Right.
I mean,
but think about how many babies are born a day. So long term, like this little bit of a
okay, I was looking up the foreskin restoration. So they transplant skin from areas with tissue, like those of the penis, such as the scrotum. And then they
onto the shaft.
Well,
it's kind of like what they do with some women who have to get a mastectomy. Is they take fat from other areas of their body and put it into their boobs, so it's still like their own skin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
But I think going back to what Rachel just shared, I think that's the number one reason why I think people should be talking about circumcision. Is it's violating a child's right. Like, nobody should have a part of or like a major surgery unless it's life-threatening done to them, where they remove a part of your body. Remove a part of your body. But a lot of people are like, oh, well, my parents made the best decision they could with the information they had, which is true. But I just encourage parents to really research and watch a circumcision and watch an elephant in the hospital. Because if you watch those, like, you're hard pressed to really want to go through with it, and you can always leave it up to your son.
And then your baby will have a good sex life when he's older.
Be a whole person.
That's funny.
Imani, have you ever felt like you enjoy sex more than like some of your friends?
I probably do if they're circumcised. Okay. And I have a friend in the industry. He's a music producer. He got circumcised late for religious reasons, which I thought was strange.
Oh, wow.
I remember that. We were like, nope. We were like maybe 18, 19, I think.
Okay. Oh, I really want to hear his story.
And he did it. His dad had him do it for religious reasons. Something that said in the Bible about it. I was like, okay, go ahead.
So do you know if he was sexually active before he had that?
I don't know.
Because I really want to hear a story of a male who was sexually active.
Yeah. And I don't even talk to him anymore. So.
I'm sure you can find stuff.
This was in Miami, yep. But I remember it specifically, and I remember going, damn, why this late? You're going to get okay. All right. Because of religious reasons? Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think people kind of minimize the risk, specifically when it comes to an infant. I looked up the statistics, so they average around 117 yearly deaths because of a circumcision.
Are you serious?
Yes. So a newborn, I guess, has 11.5 ounces of blood, and if they lose an ounce, that can cause, it could put them at risk of death. And I think that's like a shot of alcohol.
Crazy.
So when you think about that with a baby, like, I didn't know this when I made the decision, but if I had that information, I'd be like definitely rethinking it, because I think they do minimize the risk of it. And
that's
also
crazy. I didn't know
stuff like
that.
That when children die of stuff like that, I feel like it's like hush hush, or they try to put it on other things, or like
COVID. They died of COVID.
right.
So they try to do other things, and I feel like parents just aren't aware of that. And I've also met parents who, like, I've shared this information and they feel all this guilt for making that decision, or a person who was circumcised and they feel bad. So I'm always trying to be conscious of how we discuss it, not to make them feel bad about it.
Right.
But I do think that it's a really tough conversation. And I've seen friends who have had male children, and then they do a circumcision, and then the breastfeeding, the child will like quit breastfeeding, or they'll have issues with that. And I just keep my mouth shut. I can't even bring myself to say anything. But I've had two friends where I'm like, oh, I think it was the circumcision that really affected the breastfeeding, because you affected like the baby's trust and like what they're used to being in this new world. And there is some studies on that are out there, but I don't know who funded those studies. So yeah, there's tons of information like that out there, and there's a whole movement of like regret parents that I found when I was researching.
Liz is like the internet queen.
Right.
So, she'll be like, "Did you know this person from high school is gay and married a man?" I'm like, "No, I haven't seen him in 20 years. How do you know that?"
Right.
Facebook. Like,
that's funny.
It's easy to research stuff, but I mean, you can also find stuff for whatever your argument is, or whatever.
That's true too.
There's a meme that's like, "Let me do research," and it's like, whatever I want it to be.
Right, exactly.
So you really have to look at studies, and then it's confusing, because then you're like reading studies from. And then it's like a homework assignment, like learning how to read the studies.
This is legit.
Yeah, and then apparently like studies can be bought. So if somebody has an agenda, they're funding the study.
That's
and
right.
then it's like, so you have to like double check this. And some stuff I'm like, all right, I just don't know. And I will
my sister does all the research, like, because she works for the school system, and she was like, Rachel, 175,000 people in the U.S. have died of COVID this year. She's like, but 300,000 died last year of the flu.
Right.
Like,
right.
What?
Right.
Like, girl, I know.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I think we get some good subjects we can talk about in the future too.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's perfect, man. And guys, you can research all this stuff on your own, but check the source. Like we just said, you can pretty much find something to agree with you on the internet anywhere. So check the sources. You know what I mean? Yeah. There is a lot of good information out there on circumcision.
You don't have to do it.
Yeah. Totally. Most definitely. So is that it, ladies?
Yeah, it's good to see you.
That's it. Yeah, good to see you too, man. Thanks for checking in.
It's been a minute. Our listeners usually start DMing me on Instagram if we haven't posted in like 2 weeks.
It's been like 2 weeks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because you were traveling and then I was traveling last week. So like usually if it's been 2 weeks, they're like, where's this week's episode?
Right.
So is this gonna be out tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna edit it right now as soon as we sign off.
If you wanna, if you have time, if you wanna Dropbox it to me tonight,
I will.
My other friend that was here, she's like, "Can we watch it today?" And I was like, "If he sends it to me, we can."
I'll Dropbox it to you as soon as I'm done.
Cool.
Send me a text to remind me, but I'll do it. I'll make sure I do it.
Because we have this house till Tuesday, so we'll be here.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Check you guys out.
Yeah, got a nice pool.
Very, very, very cool.
And what drinks? What's your specialty?
I've been making frozen coconut margaritas.
My favorite part about Rachel, she makes the best drink.
I do. That's like
so you guys just having fun, huh?
Yeah, she just got here today. My other friend I got here Friday.
24 hours.
But so my food blog. So I have a food blog, the Skinny Chicks Cookbook, and my number one like most popular recipes, they're all cocktails. They're all my frozen drinks because I make them with fresh fruit, like no sugar or anything.
Yeah.
Have you had a cocktail from Rachel before?
No.
We do I've been making him do mimosas minus the juice.
Minus the juice for me, yeah.
He doesn't do
You have to make some, Rachel, next time we're here.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're into frozen drinks,
I'll do one. Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to taste it. That'd be awesome.
And I have an Australian friend that I just met too through my friend Amanda, who she's actually a lot like you, where she's a Cancer, but she's Pisces rising. She's so analytical, and like we were just like talking about all these because she dated her ex-husband was a Taurus narcissist. She like just has like these crazy stories. Oh, the foot fetish. She goes, I dated a guy, he couldn't come unless my foot was in his face. Like, my goodness. We're talking about like dark fantasies we have and stuff, and I was like, I gotta have you on too because she would be great.
Right. Yeah, okay, so let's do it.
I got a whole list. I'll run it by you this week.
I'm down. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. I'm gonna try to do the same. Happy I'm back from Sacramento. I'm gonna just enjoy wine country for the rest of my time. Yesterday was fun. Today was fun.
Are you just outside of San Diego, or
he's near Temecula.
Yeah, I'm like an hour north of San Diego.
Yeah,
I'm 10 minutes from Temecula. Yeah, like literally. Yeah. I'm really close. Yeah, we had a good time in Old Town last night. It's going to be a fun weekend. A lot of shenanigans.
I'm in Old Town Scottsdale.
Yeah, see, there you go.
I walked around last night and I was like, oh my God, this is why they call it Old Town, because it feels like Western like saloon.
Oh, seriously, I'm going to have to look it up.
But Imani, the boys were out. Like we just walked by a restaurant and they were all like, and Amanda's like, why is everyone smiling at us? It was like tables of all single men. I go,
everybody's getting
because quarantine's lifted and they're just like women, you know, like you just feel it.
That's how it is here. It's so crazy.
I was like, Liz, you want to go to Old Town Scottsdale?
Yeah,
right.
I wish they had some live music.
Oh, yeah, they can't yet, right?
Actually,
they do?
Yeah.
They do there? That's cool.
I think it's like salsa, but whatever.
Here, they don't have it yet. They could play it on like a speaker, but no DJ yet and no live music. Yeah.
There were signs on the middle of the street like Friday, today's Sunday, so but I didn't see it last night, but it was like Friday, Saturday. It was kind of more like salsa, but I'm like, whatever. I don't know. I'll take whatever right now.
Just have some fun. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have fun.
Post some pictures on the gram. I want to see.
I will. I usually post stories.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out.
I save like my professional photos for the feed.
Right, just put the rest in the stories. Yeah. You need a few other Instagram accounts like I have. So you could just do one.
I know. I have my food one. So like I promote food brands because they pay me and they'll send me free healthy food.
Right.
So I have like my food one that I just I promote that, but I don't.
Gotcha.
Often. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do you have the same microphone?
No, mine is a little different.
It's a square.
I forget.
But is it the same brand?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah.
He only makes this one. It's the blue.
Yeah. We use this for ADRing and stuff on movies. Probably why it sounds so good. Yeah.
Okay.
But okay. All right, ladies, have fun. Thanks for checking in. It's Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda Podcast. Imani, Shakur, Rachel K. Burke. Liz was back on us again. Thank you so much, Liz, for bringing all that great information on circumcision.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We love to have you. We love having you. Good seeing you again. And you ladies stay safe. And don't give out too many phone numbers and no hooking up with men that are not circumcised. Make sure of that.
You guys will be the first to know.
All right. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Have a good one.